and defrauded the taxpayer to line their own pockets.
My honourable friend makes a powerful point, and I hope it was heard on the benches opposite. It's an absolute scandal that failed PPE contracts were handed out by the Conservatives at taxpayer funds of £1.4 billion. We're focused on getting our money back. I can confirm the Commissioner is now investigating fraud involving bounce back and business support loans, and we will continue to go after the fraudsters, the grifters and the con artists, no matter who they are or where we find them.
Nigel Farage. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The main reason that this country decided
Some of you want to get in a little later. If this takes forever, you won't get in. Nigel Farage.
Thank you. The main reason this country wisely voted for Brexit back in 2016, and that included millions of Labour supporters, is because we wanted to take back control of our borders so that we and we alone could decide who comes and settles in our country. Does the Prime Minister understand that demand today is even greater than it was back in 2016, and that we demand, the country demands, that you say to the French President, will you shut up? That you say to the French President, we will not accept undocumented males across the English Channel, and that you are not dictated to by an increasingly arrogant anti-Brexit French President.
Mr. Speaker, we are fixing the mess that we inherited. We are working with other countries to ensure that we take the measures necessary to stop people crossing the Channel. They are serious answers to serious problems. His proposal for 10 years, wagging the Tory dog, has been to break everything and claim that's how you fix things, to stick two fingers up at your neighbours and then expect them to work with us. And he votes against the Borders Bill, which gives more powers to our law enforcement to deal with security at our borders. And, Mr. Speaker, the reason for that is he has no interest in fixing the problem because he wants to milk it and exploit it. That's the truth about him and his party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. From homelessness to child poverty, so many of the challenges that I see people facing in Exeter can be traced back to early years. So can I welcome how this government is rebuilding on the legacy of Sure Start, so cruelly dismantled by the party opposite? And can the Prime Minister set out what difference this will make to family services in Exeter?
Well, I'm grateful to him. I've discussed it with him before. He's a brilliant champion for Exeter. Mr. Speaker, every child should have support to realise their potential. And the party opposite tore up Sure Start and took it out of our communities, an act, in my view, of vandalism that abandoned families and deepened inequalities. Mr. Speaker, we're delivering 1,000 Best Start family hubs across the country. That's in addition to free childcare being rolled out and expanding free school meals. That's the change the Labour government makes.
Jim Ramsey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Growing numbers of people are joining calls for a wealth tax on the super-rich, including former Labour leader Lord Kinnock and today a former First Minister of Wales, and it transpires the Chancellor herself when she was in opposition. So will the Prime Minister stand by his promise that those with the broadest shoulders should carry the largest burden? And can he clarify that that means the ultra-wealthy, not disabled people, the poorest and children with special educational needs?
Mr. Speaker, I'm really not going to take advice from a party that put forward £80 billion of unfunded commitments at the last election. That's the sort of thing that got us into the problem in the first place. Mr. Speaker, we can't just tax our way to growth. We need to ensure that we put in place the necessary measures. We're putting in place planning reforms, Mr. Speaker, to drive growth. He voted against it and they voted against it.
Bill Lester.
Mr. Speaker, I am proud that this Labour government is banning fire and rehire. I am proud that we are addressing the abusive use of zero-hour contracts and improving protections at work, particularly against unfair dismissal. Reform and their Tory friends voted against Labour's workplace protections. I don't know why they're heckling. When they were in government, they promised to deal with fire and rehire, and after, and despite the scandal at P&O, did absolutely nothing about it. So, does my right honourable friend agree that it is only this Labour government which will ensure people have fairness at work in this country?
Well, I'm proud that we'll give 15 million workers, that's half of all workers, stronger rights at work. And Mr. Speaker, that's sick pay for up to 1.3 million of the lowest paid, tackling sexual harassment and bereavement leave for families who experience pregnancy loss before 24 weeks. Compare that to the Leader of the Opposition who thinks maternity pay is excessive. The Leader of Reform who wants working people to pay tax for tax breaks for millionaires and billionaires. Both of them vote against reform and better protection of workers at every term. They always have and they always will. They offer nothing for working people.
Sir David Davis.
With permission, Mr. Speaker, before my question, can I tell the House that in the public gallery today there are a number of veterans of Northern Ireland? Given what the Prime Minister said about 7/7, I'd like to publicly thank them for their courage in defending our country and our democracy against the first scourge of terrorism. Now, the Prime Minister knows that every time a paramilitary was killed in Northern Ireland by a British soldier, it triggered a thorough investigation. No bullet went unscrutinised. Our soldiers were held to the highest standards of law. The IRA were not. They tortured and shot men in the back. They forced families to watch their menfolk murdered. They killed women and children with bombs. Yet we're willing to prosecute our own men. Men forced to make life and death decisions in split seconds. If the government get the legacy legislation wrong, at least 50 innocent retired veterans will be exposed to legal persecution for crimes they did not commit. Now, I've raised this matter 6 times now since February. So I ask again, on Monday, when we debate this matter in Westminster Hall, will his government protect our veterans, or will it sacrifice them to politically motivated lawyers trying to rewrite history with a pack of lies?
Well, can I join in his thanks to the veterans here today with us and to all veterans. And, I mean, he knows this is a serious issue, and the outing of his, at the end of his question didn't really reflect that seriousness, because the scheme that was set up by the party opposite was found to be unlawful in the courts, and he knows it. And it wasn't supported by the communities. It would have meant, as he knows, immunity from prosecution for those who committed the most appalling terrorist crimes. And that's why it didn't have support in the communities and didn't have the support, I think, of any political party in Northern Ireland. And that was amongst the reason it was found to be unlawful. So we have to tread carefully. We have to get this right. And I'll work with him on that, but we don't get there by cheapening the debate. We will look at the address. It's not about political point scoring. I worked in Northern Ireland. I've spoken to many of the people affected, and I know we must get this right, and I want to do so, and I want the House to do it together if we possibly can, because it matters. But we have to do that in a serious way, to address the issues of the past, of course, in a way that has support of victims and survivors, and that is a key test. For me, because without the support of victims and survivors, I think it's very hard in Northern Ireland to come up with something which will have the confidence of everybody in Northern Ireland, which is why we have to work in the way we do. In advance of the new legislation, the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland continues to engage with veterans and their communities to ensure that legacy mechanisms are fair, that they're lawful and they're proportionate. And I'll continue to work with him and others in the House, because the most important thing is not scoring points but getting it right.
Luke Murphy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week I published a report which revealed the terrible legacy left by the party opposite on the NHS locally. Kids in Basingstoke waiting 210 days following a referral for access to mental health services, 3 times the national average. So I welcome the publication of the 10-year plan last week, led by the Prime Minister, to be delivered by a Labour Health Secretary, made possible by a Labour Chancellor. But can I ask the Prime Minister what more the government is able to do to close that gap in mental health services locally and ensure that every kid in Basingstoke has access to the very best mental health services?
Well, I thank him for that. The party opposite failed to give children the support that they need. The 10-year plan that we've put forward will rewire our NHS and transform mental health services. 85 dedicated mental health A&E departments giving 24/7 support, specialist mental health professionals in every school and college, benefiting 1 million young people this year alone, and an extra 8,500 mental health staff to tackle long waits. And that is only because of the decisions that we took to invest in our NHS, decisions that they opposed.
Jess Brown-Fuller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to add to the many calls that this Prime Minister has already heard about the broken SEND system. I met with head teachers and SENCOs in my constituency of Chichester last week. They all told me the same thing, that the SEND system is broken, it's adversarial, parents are at breaking point, there are not enough spaces in specialist schools, and the EHCP process is long, it's harrowing, and it's often degrading. Now, I know the government are exploring their options, but will he take the Liberal Democrat calls to introduce a national body for SEND so that we can end the postcode lottery and fix this problem for good?
Well, I thank her for raising this issue, and I know it's of concern to her and to many people across the House. The system we've got is broken. It's not serving anyone well. We've got to reform it, and I set out in an earlier answer the steps that we are taking. We will share those with the House, and I hope that we can get the greatest support possible for the reform that I think everybody here knows has to happen.
Catherine Fuchs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm delighted at the spending review commitment of £445 million for Welsh Rail. A new station at Meigren-Undy will take cars off the congested M4, offer greener journeys and open doors for local residents without a vehicle to get jobs. And it's great value for money due to the track and infrastructure that's already in place there. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that Meigren-Undy is an excellent candidate to be the first Burn station built so it can start serving local people?
Well, it's so good to see strong Labour MPs standing up for Wales and her constituency. She makes her case. I can't confirm the plans yet, but we will consider recommendations from the Burns Commission, which includes a proposal for a new station in her constituency. And I'm delighted, Mr. Speaker, just this week we set out a major road and rail schemes across the country, the A66, Newark Bypass, Midlands Rail Hub, creating tens of thousands of jobs, new homes and better journeys for millions of travellers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the past few weeks, I've spoken to 5 people from my rural constituency of North Devon who have been forced to remove their own teeth with pliers or with amateur surgical kits bought online because they are unable to find an NHS dentist. What would the Prime Minister say to those people, Mr. Speaker? And when will the government banish this dentistry crisis to the history books where it belongs?
Well, Mr. Speaker, another shameful legacy from the party opposite, with 1 in 4 adults struggling with NHS care and tooth decay as the most common reason for hospital admissions for children aged 5 to 9 under their watch. We are fixing this, Mr. Speaker, and I can set out what we're doing. We're rolling out 700,000 urgent and emergency appointments. We're reforming the dental contract and recruiting more dentists and newly qualified dentists to practice in the NHS for a minimum period. All of that only made possible because of the investment we put in the budget, which they all opposed.
Melanie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Tax evasion, money laundering, illicit goods, illegal working all undermine our high streets like Freeman Street in my own constituency, undermine local business confidence and challenge community cohesion. That's a reality around the country because of the explosion of vape shops, fake barbers, Harry Potter shops, American candy stores. Will the Prime Minister commit to working with his Cabinet to bring in a national strategy to tackle the scourges of the High Street and restore High Street confidence?
Well, she's right to highlight this issue, Mr. Speaker. In March, we saw a major crackdown against criminals using high street businesses to launder money, and with almost 400 properties securing freezing orders over bank accounts totalling more than £1 million and arresting 35 individuals. There's much more to come, and I thank her for highlighting this really important issue.
Sir Ashley Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister was elected on a promise to smash the gangs. He said he would reduce small boat crossings. He said he would close asylum hotels. Why are all these issues going wrong?
Mr. Speaker, we are fixing the problem that they said they'd take control of borders and they lost it. We're working hard with our allies. We want to bring forward more powers for our law enforcement of the borders through our Borders Bill to give them the powers they need to take the job and deal with it. And what did they do? They voted against. A confected argument.
Patrick Hurley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tomorrow evening sees the annual National Police Bravery Awards. 3 of the officers nominated this year are 3 of the officers who were first on the scene of the tragedy in my Southport constituency last summer. So will the Prime Minister join me in paying tribute to Sergeant Gregory Gillespie, Constable Luke Holden and PCSO Timothy Parry, who are with us in the gallery today, for their immense bravery in the face of evil? And just like our brave officers will always protect and defend us when we need them to, does he agree with me that this government will always support our brave officers in return?
Well, can I start by saying that the thoughts of the whole House, of course, are with the families of those that lost their little girls and all those affected by this terrible incident. I would like to put on record our heartfelt thanks to all of those who responded and those that are with us today: Sergeant Gregory Gillespie, PC Luke Holden, PCSO Timothy Parry. These officers ran towards danger to protect young lives, Mr. Speaker. I have met a number of them, and it is truly humbling to see the bravery and professionalism that they brought to their job that day and every day. Southport is a wonderful and loving community. In difficult days, they've shown kindness, empathy and courage. And I'd like to thank my honourable friend for all that he has done in relation to those values as well.
Ben Lake.
Mr. Speaker. My constituent, Mr Brian Buckle, is a victim of a miscarriage of justice. He was wrongfully imprisoned for over 5 years before being exonerated at retrial. Now, Mr. Speaker, despite a jury unanimously finding him not guilty of the crimes for which he was imprisoned and the devastating impact this injustice continues to have on him and his family, his application for compensation was denied due to a 2014 change to the law that requires those who have been wrongfully imprisoned to prove their innocence beyond all reasonable doubt. This is an almost impossible hurdle to overcome. And so would the Prime Minister consider meeting with Mr Buckle to discuss his case and lend his support to Appeal's campaign for fair compensation for those who have been victims of a miscarriage of justice?
Well, can I thank you for raising this particular case, which saw a grave miscarriage of justice. In relation to the statutory test for compensation, this has been raised in the House before, and I've undertaken to have a look at it. And I know he's working, I think, with the Minister responsible on the particular case that he raises.
Well, let's.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can I thank the Prime Minister for leading from the front in promoting the importance of his role as a father and keeping time for family life. I'm delighted that this government in the past week has launched a review into parental leave, and we've started to rebuild the legacy of Sure Start by launching our Best Start family hubs, both things that will make a huge difference to my constituents in Ribble Valley. Can he commit to this parental leave review, creating some truly ambitious outcomes so that we can make the UK not only a world-leading place to live and do business, but also the best place in the world to live a rewarding family life?
Well, I thank her. The first full review of parental leave and pay is a landmark moment. The current system is simply out of date and too complicated. 1 in 3 dads don't take paternity leave, often because they can't afford to do so. Mr Speaker, that's a great loss to them and their children. I want parents to be able to give their child the best care and make the system work better for employers.
Final question, Cameron Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Following a week of internal conflict, the Prime Minister should be well prepared if he wants to join me this weekend at the Tewkesbury Medieval Festival, which includes Europe's largest reenactment. Or perhaps next weekend he'll don his leather jacket and turn it up to 11 at the Tewkesbury Live Music Festival, hosted by hospitality venues across the town. Regardless, will he join me in thanking the volunteers and those hospitality venues that make Tewkesbury the unsung nucleus of Gloucestershire's culture? Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, what an invitation. I'm grateful for the invite to join the medieval festival, but if I wanted to see a load of people stuck in the past and fighting each other, I'd probably go to the next meeting of the Shadow Cabinet. I'll consider it. Thank you.
That completes Prime Minister's questions. Let the front bench change over.